Welcome everyone. Suha is going to get us started.
Hello, good morning and good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of GMG and Bridges of Understanding, I would like to welcome you all to the second professional development session. Of course, Ali and myself, Suha, will be together today for the first one. For our agenda for today, yes, is everyone okay? Yeah. So for our agenda for today, we'll practice using the curriculum module 1.
Saida, I'm so sorry. Can you please mute your microphone so we don't get the feedback? Thank you.
Okay, again. Okay, I will just repeat the agenda. We'll practice using the curriculum for Module 1 activities and using tech tools. Of course, all info is in the PD workshop too, and you can find it on your educator guide from page O through to V. So you can follow along using those pages. So this is an open discussion today based on the curriculum, and so you will need it, definitely. So now, can we reintroduce yourselves? Briefly, just what's your name and where are you connecting from? Thank you.
Why don't we start with Shahid, and then Neely, and then Melanie. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shahid Hawk, and my school is Bronx Academy of Letters in Bronx, New York.
Hi, my name is Neely Harash. I'm the coaching coordinator at Madrasati Palestine, and I'm here instead of Nay and Layla today. And Layla is a teacher from Al Fatah School in Jerusalem. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melanie. I teach in Buffalo, Texas. It's a small town kind of in the center of the state. I'm the librarian and teach journalism and speech there. And you'll see me going to work in a few minutes after my son gets ready.
Great, thank you. We should also have a few other people joining. Saida, welcome. Can you see and hear us? Saida, we can see that you're connected, but we cannot see or hear you. So please unmute and. Oh, okay, I see that you're having some problems. If you need help, you can chat Suha, and she will give you some support. I cannot understand what you're saying. Please chat so we can help you. Okay. So we also should have Susan joining. Neely, that's your partner, and Beatrice is trying to get on as well, Shahid. So we're going to spend the next half hour talking about the curriculum. We are going to review a couple things in general and then dive into some specifics of Module 1. So we're going to do a bit of role play, pretending that we are in the classroom. And then we'll move in to talk about GMG Connect and our tech tools. I'm going to pause for just a moment to help an educator, and then we will get started. Okay. So to start, I just want to remind everyone that we have two documents for the curriculum. There's your educator guide, which you've been using already. It has all of your workshop materials, all of your lesson plans for each activity, as well as the student workbook. That's a green border on the side. And then your student workbook, we ask that you print a copy for each of your students. This is so they can keep track of their progress in the program. They can go back and look at past activities, and so they have responsibility in the program as well. We recommend you print it double-sided. It's designed to be printed that way, and we want to be an environmentally friendly organization. I hope I'm now going to turn the mic over to you. Can someone please explain for the group the Learn, Act, Reflect cycle and how that applies to your class? Thank you.
You're asking us just kind of like describe what it is? Oh, okay. So it's the 3-step process thing that we've been using. We use to go through the different the different lesson plans, like different modules. And the first one was to learn. So you have to like research or gather information about the question or the prompt. The second part was to act. Oh, I see it's right here. Put your knowledge into action. So then actually, after you do the research, then you start implementing. And then the third step is to reflect. And that's to respond to your peers' work. And then do it on, I guess, the new platform we're using.
Perfect. Absolutely. Welcome, Susan. I see that you're connected. So each module we'll start with learn activities, like Shahid said. So for module 1, that's your Windows demo and your KHW chart. And that's really to help students gain background knowledge on the topic. You apply that knowledge in ACT activities, as well as in the video content. And then you will reflect, like you said, to cement the learning. Saira, can you see and hear us? We're getting an echo. Neely, if it's cutting out for you, you can lower your bandwidth. Thank you. Saira, okay. I wonder if you can connect on another device or you can mute your mic. Even if you can't hear you, you can share any questions. Okay, and I also just want to welcome Ecole Oasis. They're actually joining on a different computer via Skype since Hangout's not working for them. So I will ask Ecole if you can mute and just type or speak when you have questions. So right now I'm briefly going to screen share and show you a few new features of the curriculum. All of you have done the program before in some way, but I want to highlight a few new types of instructions that you might see. Can you just give me a thumbs up, those of you on Google Hangout, to let me know if you can see the screen? Okay, great. So you will see that you have an educator page and a student page, and this is true for all of the activities. The educator pages have green in the upper and lower corners, and each one will start with an overview or an introduction box. This intro box tells you all you need to know about how to implement the activity in your class. You'll see how much time it takes. So the community lens takes 60 minutes, maybe with some extra time for your students to take photos outside of class. Also, you'll see the materials you need: camera, worksheet, computer, and internet. You'll see a learning goal for the activity. And then lastly, you'll see an indication of what you need to post on GMG Connect. So whenever you see this logo, that's our GMG Connect logo, you know that you need to post, or your students need to post something, and it will tell you your deadline. Below that, you'll see your basic lesson plan instructions, 1, 2, 3, 4. I trust that you can read these on your own, but I just want to highlight a few things. If you're working with students who are a bit more advanced, or you happen to have more time, you can always use these deep in the discussion boxes. these are additional activities or additional discussion questions to raise the level or raise the challenge of the activity. And Beatrice, right now we're on page 7 of the curriculum. I can't screen share on both computers, maybe Suha can. You'll also see on both the educator and the student that we have a check for understanding. This is, some people call this a knowledge check or an assessment. This is a quick way at the end of an activity for you to measure if your students understood what was going on or not. And you can give this question verbally or have them fill it out, write their answer quickly on their way out of class or out of the meeting. And then lastly, again at the bottom, again of both educator and student sheets, you will see what explicitly you need to post on GMG Connect. And this is really important, as we were talking about last time, to make sure that your collaboration with your partners is strong. Hi, Saira, welcome. Can you see and hear us? I can see you now. Let me know. Okay, let me know if you have any trouble seeing or hearing us. So I'm going to turn it over to Suha now to share a little bit about the scope and sequence, and then we'll go into Module 1.
Yes, hello again. As you know, the scope and sequence is very important for you as a guide for the program. It has all information, like whenever anyone asks you what's the YouthTalk all about, what the modules are about, you can go back to this scope and sequence. So can any one of you volunteer, please, to go through the structure of the first module?
And you can use the scope and sequence to do this if you like. Beatrice, this is on page Q of the educator guide. This is going to be a sad session if we don't have volunteers, because the next part is really engaging.
I'll do it.
Thanks.
Okay. So for Module 1, the topic is going to be cultural exchange. It says many stories, one world. And our driving question, which is the same throughout all the modules, is how do we as youth engage our communities, create positive social change? So the guiding question for Module 1 is going to be, how does cross-cultural dialogue enhance our global awareness? That'll be leading, I guess, the lesson or how we're working on it. And that learn activities are going to be a warm-up activity and a know-how, I forgot the W chart. I forgot what it means. And then the activity is actually the community lens, which then leads into the first interactive conference with our partner schools.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Shahid. That's exactly what it is. So as you mentioned, each module has its own guiding question and they have to explore it throughout the activities. And based on what Ali shared about the Learn Act activities, the activities move or follow that sequence. The first one is the warm-up, the Windows activity, and then the KHW, which is the Know-How Wish chart, which we also will go through in a few minutes. And finally, the ACT activities that are the community lens, and the IBC, which is what we conclude every module. And after every video conference, there is the reflect activities, which are where the students debrief and post on GMG Connect online platform. So, and this goes for all the modules. I hope that this is clear. And as we said, like you can have this hanged up in your classrooms as a reference for your program the whole year.
Are there any questions about the curriculum overall, about the structure of the curriculum in general, or how to use the educator guide? Okay. So since there are no questions, we're now going to put you to the test in a low-pressure way. As part of the preparation for this workshop, we asked that you review Module 1 of the curriculum. And so we're going to ask you now to pretend that we are your classroom, and we're going to do a little bit of role-playing, leading some of these activities with our students. So we want this to be interactive so that you can experiment with different teaching techniques and so that we can all learn from each other. You can absolutely use the educator guide, your lesson plans, to help you. This is not a pop quiz. This is an open book discussion. And also, just so everyone knows, Beatrice is connected on another computer. So Beatrice, I encourage you to share as well, and we can, if necessary, repeat your question or your response to the group. So please feel free to type or chat to Suha. All right, so I'd love an educator to volunteer and pretend that we are your students. And in 60 seconds or less, I'd like you to explain the YouthTalk program, introduce the YouthTalk program to us. So in other words, the first thing you have to do with your students is introduce them to YouthTalk. How will you do it? May we please have one educator who is not Shahid's, because he's already volunteered twice, to demonstrate to the group.
I can try. What I'll tell my students is that YouthTalk is a platform for us to get to know people in other cultures, maybe people that the political correctness is always difficult for me, but you know, that maybe have some differences in their cultures that make us afraid or wary, and that learning to get to know them and the differences in them and the similarities between our cultures is the only way that we will learn to come together as a world and have peace and understanding between different cultures.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I love that you present YouthTalk as an opportunity for students to really learn firsthand from cultures that might seem very different or even a little bit alarming, a little bit scary because they seem so different to their peers. And I just also want to echo again that this is a chance for students to learn not through media but through young people face to face. Does anyone else want to add to what Melanie said, or would anyone else do something different to introduce the program to your students?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hi, good day, everyone. I love what was said already. I would also tell the students, you know, really keep reiterating the the driving question, so that they're focused on, like, this is what we're going to be, dialoguing about, and that the culminating, hopefully, the culminating conversation is one where we're helping to problem solve for each other's, community, like to look at the local issue and make some suggestions through these interactions on how they can implement some positive change.
Wonderful. So focusing on the driving question and focusing on the chance to really make a positive change in your community and learn from other students as well. Neely, go ahead if you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I'd also like to add to that we actually explained to them in the beginning that it's a good opportunity for them to get to know a different culture, a culture that they don't know much about. And we also give them like a chance in the beginning to research a little bit about the States, for example. And then also it's a chance for them to improve their English language skills because they don't use it as much. Thank you.
Also wonderful, Neely. Thank you. A chance to improve English and a chance, again, to meet face-to-face. I also want to share that a lot of educators I've worked with do a little bit of background research or have their students do background research on their partner country so that students are then more prepared to learn about their partner school and community. But a little bit of context, whether that's videos or news articles about their partner country or about maybe media bias or stereotyping. Those are great resources to pull in to help. And Saira, I wonder if you can lower your bandwidth so that you can hear a bit better. I'll turn it over to Suha to talk about the Windows warm-up.
Yes. So now we're still in the same setup, same scenario that we all are your students, but we need a different educator to volunteer now for the Windows warm-up. Just to share the instructions on how to start the warm-up activities or Windows warm-up activity. So who is the volunteer for this activity?
Oh yeah.
Susan?
Yeah, I just want to look at it because I did do it with my students last year. It was
yeah, your experience. That's great.
What page is that? I just want to look at it again.
It's page 4.
Page, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, getting there. Okay, I don't know where it is.
Maybe Suha, you can give the prompt.
Yeah.
So Susan, can you just pretend that we're your classroom and give us the basic instructions on how to start the activity?
I just have to look at it one. I'm sorry. I'm not that prepared as I should be. I just want to look at it again, and I will. I promise I'll jump in when I find it. Page 4. Okay. I can't find it, and that's I know it's here because I just looked at it. Okay. Okay. Overall, the activity is it's about perspective and how and how one sees the world, and to look at and to be a more deliberate observer of the environment. And it's really interesting how the kids, when taken to task to do that, how they really do reflect on, wow, this is how I see this is how I saw things when I was prompted to look closely. I think I had that. Is that right? I do remember that last year.
Yeah. Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
I will.
Yeah, that's exactly the idea of the Windows activity. Like having all students or everyone look at one window or something, and then share what they saw from their different perspectives. So we all can see one thing or keep looking at the same thing but thinking differently. So this is where they share and their perspectives and respect others' perspectives. So anyone would like to add, or how would you do it differently in your classroom to instruct your students on that Windows activity?
And I'll encourage us, instead of talking about how we will do it, to actually demonstrate and pretend we're your students. It's easy to talk about how, it's harder to practice.
I don't know that this is doing it, but I did last year. Our GMG group was with 2 different classes, my journalism class and my speech class. We met at 2 different times during the day. So I actually printed out a picture of a window, because where I am in the library, we're surrounded by windows. It was going to be really hard for them to pick one. So I actually printed out a picture of a scene and asked them to replicate it, what their sense of it was. And it was, I didn't think it was going to work well, because I was afraid they were all going to just kind of trace the picture. But I got back very, very different pictures. It was like a snowy, woodsy scene, and it was crazy how many of them, picked up on the snow, or they picked up on the dead trees, or, they all picked up on different things that they emphasized. So that was maybe a different way of doing it, but it still worked out really well.
That's really cool, actually. It's an innovative idea, and where, like, if you can utilize anything just to have to reach the objective or the main goal of the activity, which is really, really nice. And as we mentioned, it's just seeing the same thing from different perspectives. So so now I also pretending that we've done the activity and we've drew or wrote what we saw from the window, or the photo or the picture or whatever. So as an educator, what questions will you use in the class discussion?
Maybe we can have 1 or 2 examples.
Mm-hmm.
One of my questions would be what the feeling was, the emotions were that you had when looking through your window.
Yes, that's great. What feeling? And they shared that as well, and respected by others. What other question would be shared?
Neely, we're just talking about discussion questions you might use with your classroom after they've drawn or wrote what they saw out the window.
So maybe now, that's great. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Susan, for that. But maybe just for like the check for understanding question, what would that be? What would the check for understanding question be? Or how would you check for their understanding of that activity? How would you know that they've understood or they got the idea of this activity? Anyone else who would like to share? Maybe Susan, Melanie, or Nili, Shahid, or Syra, whoever would like to share. And then we'll move to the next activity.
Well, I'd probably ask them what they learned from the activity and why do we have different perspectives and just where that comes from.
Mm-hmm. So yes, be straightforward and ask them what did they learn. That's great.
I would also ask them, so why, why do you think we did this? What was the value in this? And then I think from that we can get, what they learned about the way they see things or the way others do. So I would add why to it.
Absolutely. You can also use the check for understanding questions that are in the curriculum. You can use your own or make them up. We want this to be really easy for you to implement. We'll move forward now to the next activity. And Beatrice also just added, I think this is a great question. She might ask, what role does the media play in influencing what we know about other countries? So taking the Windows activity from the example to actually talk about our partner countries and think about the window in a much broader way. Thank you, Beatrice. I think that's wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the KHW chart. Before I share the prompt, can I have an educator volunteer to be our demonstrator? And then I'll tell you what to do.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'll volunteer. It's Susan.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
So I want us all to pretend that we are students in Susan's class. Susan is an educator in the US, and her partner is in Palestine. So we're all students who are thinking about Palestine today. And Susan, I want you to imagine that you have already started the KHW or Know How Wish activity with us. So we have already brainstormed what we know about Palestine, what we know about the education system, the people, the culture, the geography, the government. And we've also thought about where we get that information from. Do we get it from the news? Do we get it from Facebook? Do we get it from Instagram? Do we get it from our friends? So we've already done those first few steps of the activity, Susan.
Okay.
So now I'd like you to lead us, your students, in a class discussion to help us to create complete and respectful questions for our partners at Al-Fatat, our partner school, to help us understand what we want to know. So again, we'd love you to start a discussion about how we can ask respectful questions that will get at what we want to know from our partners at Al-Fatat. And Shahid, Beatrice, Suha, Melanie, Neely, Saida, and I will pretend to be your students. So students, be prepared to participate too.
Okay, hi class. Okay, so we throughout the day we communicate in a lot of different ways. So most of you are looking at your texts or your Instagram and communicating that way. But really, how do you get information? So the first thing I'd like you to do is just to share when you want to know something about someone. How do you go about finding out? So if anyone it's just their own personal experiences, how you go about your day to gain information.
I get on the internet. I mean, that's the first thing that I do.
Okay, so thanks. That's great. Yeah, the internet is a great source for information. So I'm going to put on the board right now. I can't get to my board, but anyway, on the board I have 3 types of questions. And these are the types of questions that we tend to ask when we're looking to learn more about someone or something. There are factual questions, there are interpretive questions, and there are evaluative questions. So let's just say someone just walks into the classroom right now, someone we don't know, and we have these 3 categories of questions on the board. One is factual. Let's just ask a factual question. Anyone? Let's ask this person who just walked into our classroom a factual question where there's only one answer. Anyone?
Where are you from?
Great. That's a great factual question because we'll get an answer and it really cannot be, there are no 2 answers to that. Great. Okay, so now an interpretive question, there might be different interpretations of the question and the answer. So if we're asking interpretive question, what might we be asking someone, that person who comes into the room? Anyone? That's a tough one, I know. Everyone just want to try where it really, there could be 2 answers. It just depends on how we hear it. Like if someone, we meet someone at the supermarket and we say to that person, so do you think that this food is one that's like the most nutritious? Okay, and there are 2 people in the aisle. One says, yeah, this is the most nutritious on the planet, and the other one says, not really. Did you look at this part of the ingredients? That would be an interpretive question. Anyone want to try? Yeah, it's okay. We'll hang on to that one and go to something like an evaluative question, which is where you really get yourself, what do you think of something? What do you feel about something? What would you do if? I mean, those are evaluative questions. Anyone want to give that one a try when you're trying to get to know someone?
What do you think your country's relationship with America is?
Awesome. That's perfect. Great evaluative question. So, we mix these questions up when we're trying to get to know someone or something. So that's a start to, what we're going to be doing with our partner school. Good job, Melanie. What questions would we ask our partner school friends to be? That would help us to get to know them without breaking down any communication, but rather building bridges. Anyone want to just, what question might you ask?
Ms. Lettieri, I want to know if the war in Syria affects them. I mean, I'm not really good at geography, and I don't really know how. I know it's close, but I don't know if it's right there, and I want to know if they feel the impact of the war. Or if it feels far away like it does here.
Wow, that's a yes. And so it sounds to me like you're wondering, how you would pose that question without. It sounds like you may be a little
rude. I don't want to be, I don't want to offend them.
Right. Well, let's go with, starting with. Think about your own situation in your own life when someone is, just walks into your room and pow, you know, poses a question that is a little bit off-putting because you're a little bit nervous about answering it. How can you ease into asking that question by using some of the types of questions that are on the board?
Maybe like a interpretive question. I read this news article and I'm sharing it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that yes. And then maybe begin with a factual question. You know, perhaps.
How far is the war from you?
Yes, there you go. How far? And then you can build from there, so that you're not just zonking someone with a question that will make that person feel a bit uncomfortable. If it does, we don't know that. So easing in is
maybe give an example first, like something that's happening in the States, and then ask the question that's happening over here, for example. And I just want to mention that it's okay for them to ask, questions about with how the situation is over here and if Syria affects. But just the point is to ask them in the right way.
Yes.
And to be sensitive.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that would be key too. So we can practice doing that. We can practice the questions that each of you will be sitting at. We'll work as partners. Just to come up with types of questions and that you might ask, easing into the question that the answer you're really looking for, and to be able to share, like you said, if you use an interpretive question rather than going with the what is it? How do you feel about something? So interpreting something is really good. I like the idea of bringing in your own experience too. I read an article about in my country, and I was wondering, yeah.
Thank you, Susan. I'm going to cut you off, although you could clearly lead this for the rest of our time today. Really well done. I just want to highlight a few things for those who are connecting in different ways. Neely, I love that you emphasize giving examples from your own experience or your own country. Here, I have a uniform at my school, and I have to wear X, Y, and Z. What is that like for you? Do you have a uniform at your school? So to give context for why you want to know and what it's like in your community. So every question already has an answer in it. I think that's great. And I think, Susan, one thing you did really well was pushing students to make sure they have some knowledge about what they want to ask instead of just diving into a really tough question. Maybe having them do research or ask the questions they need to gain basic knowledge. And Beatrice, I really like your idea of making sure the questions are appropriate to the level of students, their age level. So not necessarily asking more than one question at a time, giving them a chance to ease in and not being afraid to start with things like daily life. I'm going to turn it over to Suha to just wrap up this section, and then we'll talk a little bit about tech tools.
Yeah, so thank you, educators. Great job. So now the last module the last activity in module 1 is the community lens, and I think we've maybe Ali talked about it earlier. So I don't think there is any question, but if there is any, please feel free to ask.
Okay,
let's keep going. So by the end of the community lens, there is the IBC, which is the last activity of this module, and this is where you conclude that module. If there is any question about the IBCs, using the outline and preparing your students, please let us know. You have a chance to unmute your mic and say anything. Otherwise, we can go ahead with the next section of using the tech tools for the program. Okay, Shahid, you want to say something? Okay. All right, so then Ali, we can move on to the next section of using tech tools.
Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about GMG Connect. But before we do, I just want to highlight that these tech tools, our online platform and the video conferencing, are really the places where we can foster dialogue in our classrooms, in addition to your class activities you'll already be doing. So I want to, before we dive into the technical aspect, refer to page S of the curriculum. which talks about some guidelines for moderating dialogue in class and online. And I'd love to hear from one educator if there's anything on this list that really surprised you or seemed new or very important to you. Or in your experience, really important to include? Yes, Syra, you have a question. Can we delete comments? Absolutely. GMG Connects give teachers the ability to delete a comment, and I'll actually show you that in a moment. So if a student posts something that seems very inappropriate and you feel like needs to be removed right away, you can do that, or we can do that. We can delete that comment. But I encourage you, if you see something that feels inappropriate, to if you feel like you need to, you can remove it, but then to go talk to the student and ask why they felt the need to put that up, because often the student is just trying to ask a question, but maybe they haven't worked with Neely and they don't know that they need to share a bit of context. So ask them to repost in a better, more appropriate way. Anything else seem surprising or new on that page? If not, I have a question for you. Okay, a quiet group today. I want to ask you then, one situation I have seen in a lot of classrooms and video conferences and online dialogue is that there's a majority opinion. Say we're having a discussion on climate change. Maybe there is a majority opinion, and say 90% of the class thinks that climate change does not exist. They think it's a lie. But you know there's a few students in the class who have a different opinion, or maybe several different opinions. I'd love to have one of you share an example of a discussion question you might use, or a tactic you might use, to get the class to share minority perspectives or new perspectives.
I might have them write it down first, and then maybe me present the different opinions, you know, anonymously from the students, so that there was not a fear of, you know, somebody making fun of. And my hope would be that after doing that once or twice, and reiterating that we needed to respect all opinions, that we could move to where the students would feel more comfortable sharing their own opinions, even if it was not the popular one.
Great idea. So allowing students to submit opinions anonymously and then presenting them in a way that doesn't associate them with the opinion. Wonderful. Anyone else have anything to add on that?
I might have the students take themselves out of it and take on a role, so that set it up as like, this is a a debate, a presidential debate, or whatever. Give them a forum where, okay, pretend you're the side that says there is no such thing as climate change, and you're representing the side that says yes, it exists, and then so that they're playing a role rather than saying this is my opinion, so they can hear all different sides.
Wonderful. So to have students play a role. Beatrice also mentioned emphasizing that respect is really important if you see that some students are in the minority. Having a conversation about respect of others' opinions, and that we don't have to agree in order to have a productive conversation. One easy thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we'd definitely have a discussion about that first, and then we'd actually allow the different students to write their opinions. Doesn't mean that one person only has to write their opinion.
So multiple students writing and talking.
Multiple students can post their opinions and ask the questions, but we'll definitely have a discussion before that. and talk about respecting different people's opinions.
Absolutely. I think that's a great approach, Neely, and Syra, I agree as well. You know, that we can have open minds and respect individual differences and choices. One thing I see educators doing a lot is asking students, what do other people in your community think, in your family, or in your neighborhood? That's a good way for students also to distance themselves from what they might think, so that they don't have to feel attacked or focused on. And I like Beatrice's idea as well, asking them to share experiences at home or in other parts of their life where people don't agree, but they can still respect each other. Maybe in how to prepare dinner together, or how to prepare for a sibling's birthday. We might not all have the same opinions, but we can still work towards the same goal. I'm going to move now into GMG Connect, the actual tools. But before I do, I just want to emphasize that your role as a moderator and your students' roles, your student leaders' roles, is really to be looking always for what perspectives are missing, and to help students ask questions or do activities that can fill in those gaps. Your role as a facilitator and your students' role as a facilitator is not to share what you think, but to help others come up with new perspectives. All right, so now what I'm going to do is actually screen share GMG Connect. But before I do so, I'm curious from you all, are there specific functions or specific things on GMG Connect that you'd like to learn about? For example, I had trouble updating my profile, or like Syra, I want to know how I can delete or reply to student comments. Let me know if there's specific things so I can tailor the discussion to you. Can you? Yeah. Okay, if there's no questions, I will dive in, but I don't want this to be boring for anybody, so let me know if you have specific things. So I'll give you a quick tour of GMG Connect. Hopefully you've logged in, but I know if you haven't yet. So this is one of your main to-do items after the session today. Can everyone give me a thumbs up to let me know if they see my screen? Okay. Syra, do you see my screen? You can just chat in yes or no. And I do see your question about receiving notifications of GMG Connect on email. Okay, so I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes or so giving you a quick tour. And Suha's going to do the same for Beatrice. So the page you see right now is your dashboard page. It's your home page, if you will. It's not quite like Facebook. You won't see a news stream in the same way here, but it's your landing page. At the top, you'll see your name and your photo. This is where you click if you want to change your profile information, to update your photo or share where you're from or what your interests are. This is also where you can access messages. This is a great way to send messages to students individually, to remind them to post an assignment or maybe meet with you after class. It's up to you how to use it. And this, again, doesn't link. When you send a message, it will go to a student's email too, but you don't see their contact information when you do that. And then in preferences here, that is, Syra, where you can change things like getting updates when people post on discussions and updating what you get on email. So you can look into that, and if you have specific questions, I'm happy to follow up. In the center of the page, you'll see your courses. Each of you should have 2 courses. I have some more because I work on different programs. But each of you will have a course for your professional development, that's YouthTalk Educator PD, and also a course for the YouthTalk program. And this one is where your students will be as well, YouthTalk 2015-16. On the right side, you'll see who is online. Right now, I'm kind of alone. although on Suha's computer, it's showing up as more people. You'll also see your badges. A badge is like an award or a certificate. So you and different students will win badges for completing assignments on GMG Connect. So if you do all your Workshop 1 activities, you'll get this badge. You'll also see a calendar. We're working to add your IVC schedule to the calendar, and you can add events as well that might be relevant to your students. So that's your dashboard page. Please, of course, chat in or unmute if you have any questions about that. This also is all available on mobile. The organization is a little bit different on your mobile app, but you can access pretty much the same things. I'm going to go now into your YouthTalk Educator Professional Development course. This is where you'll see all the activities for PD, and in YouthTalk 2015-16, that's where you'll see all the student activities. There's a couple different types of activities, and they're organized by module. So you'll see one box like this per workshop or per module. You'll see different activities. They might be forums, or polls or quizzes, or requests for you to upload an assignment, or your students upload an assignment so they can type in or upload a document. One of the most common ones that you'll see is a forum. So Saira, I'm getting to your question now. So I'm right now in Educator Introduction Forum. I can add a new discussion topic myself, and I can also go into one that's already been posted. Saira and Mohammed from the Jabri School posted. So Saira, you will see, because you are an educator, that you have an edit, delete, and reply options. You all might not have this function within the PD because you're students in the PD, but you will have this function in the YouthTalk course because you are educators for your students there. So let's pretend that Saira posted something that wasn't appropriate, or she just made a mistake and wanted to post it again. I, as an educator, can click this delete button and remove it immediately. I also, and your students will have this too, have the ability to reply. So say I have a great comment about Jabri's introduction. I can go and I can type in text here, or I can use these buttons up here and take a photo or upload a photo. I can actually record a photo or video right from my camera. So this is a great way if you want to give a tour of your school, or when you're working on your community lens. You don't have to upload it to YouTube or to Vimeo. You can record it right within the platform here, and it will be private. Are there any questions about posting or commenting or removing posts? Okay. You will also see, if you go back to your dashboard, as teachers, if there are new posts, you'll see a little notification underneath that says there are new forum posts or there are new activities, and that's a great way to be tracking student progress. So it will pop up right on your dashboard. You can also see it in the grades function up there. Any questions about reviewing student work? I'll also say, if you have students who are multilingual and want to view the content in another language, they can go to the top of the page and select a language to translate. This is a Google Translate function, so it's not 100% perfect. It's a little bit too literal. But if I click on Arabic, then it will translate what I see and the posts into Arabic. And I can also go back to the original this way. So we know that, Neely, for example, your students are working on their English in this program, but if they want to cross-check, it's a good resource for them, and you can choose whether to allow it or not. I also want to just demonstrate one other thing in the student courses, so YouthTalk 2015-16. We're still adding the activities, so you won't see them. They're not live yet, but I just want to show you an example. If I go into a forum here, you'll see that I've posted a sample introduction. And what I want to highlight here is that for all of you, for all of your students, you'll see the same set of activities. You'll see the same instructions from GMG, but you will only see the work of your partner group. So for example, Saira and Melanie, your students will only see each other's work. They won't see the work of Shahid's students or of Susan's students. And that's because we have them in different groups. You won't necessarily see this because you're in your own group as well, but you can see that I've already started to add these separate groups. And when I go into Al-Mustaqbal and Kinai, I'll only see the students that are there. I added mine in multiple groups. But we want to keep that dialogue private and separate. Saira, I know that was something that's very important to you, so I want to make sure that we went over that. Are there any specific questions about what I've covered or GMG Connect? Okay. So that was a really quick introduction. I do want to highlight as well that this is available on your mobile device. You can download the Moodle mobile app for free. And then it will give you an app on your phone, and you can get notifications there as well. It's also great if you're doing activities in class and don't have computer access. You can upload photos directly from your phone to the site without having to go to a computer lab. Okay, I'm going to turn it over then to Suha to talk a little bit about IVCs, and then we'll wrap up with time for questions.
Yes, thank you, Ali. That was great. So now let's talk about the video conferences that are the last activity in each of the modules. So you know that there is like all of you have gone through video conferences before, and you know what the importance of the dial-in period, and you know as much as it's important for technical issues, and that we can, even if it's done the first video conference, it should be carried out every single video conference, as it's sometimes different issues pop up. The video conferences also, they follow the same structure of the Learn, Act, Reflect approach. And one thing that I would like to maybe just emphasize is the educator role. So what would that be? Anyone would like to share what would the educator role would be in a video conference?
Shahid?
Hi. When I was in the room with my kids while they were doing the video conference, I had my facilitators kind of just making sure everyone was alert, but I was doing the same thing. So I took like a role in the back of the room almost, where I wasn't part of the conversation, but I made sure that all my kids were part of it.
Great, thank you, Shahid. That's exactly what it is. So being there, supporting them. Maybe I think Susan mentioned something the other day. So the educator is a guide on the side, right, Susan? And then and I would add maybe the hero behind the scenes. So you're an essential part of the video conference, or the whole program, of course. But this video conference is the space for the students to share their voices, not the educators.
Yeah, and just to answer a question that came up, the job of an educator is not to facilitate, as Beatrice says, it's to take a back role and let the students facilitate and lead the discussion. And for those of you that have done the program with GMG facilitation, it might be a little different in the beginning. It's hard to facilitate. And we'll do a training with your students, but it's not necessarily a natural thing. So it's a different kind of learning opportunity for them to be able to take this leadership role. But maybe the first time the dialogue won't be quite as deep, and that's okay.
Yes. And then as for the technology, of course, you know that there will be technology testing for your devices or technology used in your schools, and we will be in touch for that, and for the IBC schedule as well. Do you know now what you need for the IBCs? If you have any questions, please go ahead. All right. Seems that everything is okay and everyone is ready to go on with their students.
Or just tired at the end of the week.
Maybe. Tired or sleepy in the morning. So whatever. So I'm sure that you are all prepared and you know what to do for that. And please don't hesitate to ask any questions through email, WhatsApp, or even now after this session. We'll stay afterwards. So now we might conclude. Ali, do you have anything to add before we conclude?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the next few workshops, if
Yes,
that's okay.
Of course.
So as you all know, you have 2 more workshops to complete. The first is between you and your partner educator only. We know that we are not nearly as important as your partner educator, so we want you 2 or 3 to have time to discuss. So the first thing you should do after this session is immediately email or WhatsApp your partner educator to schedule a time to talk in the next, I would say, 5 days. And again, that's on your own time. You can use the workshop 3 pages in your educator guide to prepare. One thing we will do to help you prepare is to send you proposed video conference dates, so you can start to put together a work plan for the year and not just think about what is the next step, but what does the whole piece, what does the whole program look like. And second is your workshop 4, and that includes you and your 2 or 3 student leaders. It's mandatory that they participate, so we're happy to be a little flexible with the scheduling to make that happen. So before we move on, I just want to confirm a few dates that we had emailed about and make sure that they work for people and their students. So Beatrice and Shahid, does the 14th still work for you the same time as it is today? So that's 2 p.m. for Beatrice. That's next Wednesday.
That's still fine for me.
Okay, and Beatrice, that works for you as well. Wonderful. Saira and Melanie, I might have missed an email, but I think you confirmed that date as well. Does that still work for you? Melanie, is that a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Thumbs up, okay. Saira, does it work for you and your students to meet on the 14th? I'll type this into you. And then Neely and Susan, I know we needed to reschedule your session. Neely, I was wondering if your students need to do this time or if they can do later in the day.
I'm going to have to double check with Naila and May.
Okay.
I can answer. So this week, hopefully, I'll let you know.
Okay, great. So I will follow up with you and Susan by email so we can schedule that. But Wednesday doesn't work for Susan because of state testing.
Okay.
So all students will be in a testing room and unfortunately not able to skip out. Although I'm sure they would want to if I was a student. Okay, and to prepare for Workshop 4, we ask that you review the Workshop 4 pages in the curriculum with your student leaders. And also it's very important that you share their names and emails with us so we can make them GMG Connect accounts and they can get on and post before the session. Are there any questions about Workshops 3 and 4? Go ahead, Sahar.
Yeah, maybe just to add on what you said, Ali, the work plan that they will be working with their peers, like each educator in their third video conference, or sorry, third PD, you will be talking about your work plan. So work on developing your work plan based on your school schedule and IBC dates that will be provided to you.
Yeah, and I'll also ask if you haven't yet submitted your roster to do that before your workshop 4 as well, so we can get your students on GMG Connect, and hopefully you can start with everything. So things to look out from us are a reminder email after the session with next steps, and then in the coming days, proposed video conference dates and information about your pre-program survey. And now I think we're a few minutes early, so if there are any questions, we'll stick around either about the content today or anything else you're wondering.
Thank you.
Will the students be getting, is it the same address, the same site that the Connect GNG, is it the same address that the students will be getting on that we do?
Yes, it's the same site. They'll just see only the YouthTalk 2015-16 course. So,
okay, those are different things. And so do you already have them set up? Like, can I get them to log in and get started, or not yet?
We have not yet uploaded the student accounts since we're still waiting for some to come in. I will let you know when those are up and online, but I'm going to try to get them started on Sunday for those of you who have submitted.
Awesome, great, thanks. And everybody have a great day.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you, Shahid. Thank you so much. Thank you, Neely.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.